a beautiful village full of flowering trees and colorful gardens lived a bright green parrot named Mithu. Mithu had shiny feathers, a red curved beak, and a sweet voice. He lived in a golden cage on the porch of a kind old lady named Amma, who loved and cared for him dearly. Mithu was happy, but he had one weakness: he often compared himself to others. Whenever he saw other birds flying or singing differently, he would feel jealous and sad. One day, Amma brought home a new bird, an elegant white dove named Chini. She was gentle, graceful, and had soft cooing sounds that everyone loved. Amma placed Chini in a cage next to Mithu's. At first, Mithu was excited to have company. "Hello, I'm Mithu. Welcome to our home," he chirped. "Thank you," said Chini kindly. "You have such bright feathers. I'm happy to be here." But soon, the neighbors and visitors began complimenting Chini. "Oh, what a calm and peaceful bird," they would say. "Her feathers are so white and lovely." Mithu didn't like it. He felt like everyone had forgotten how beautiful and cheerful he was. Jealousy started to grow in his heart. The next morning, Mithu tried to imitate Chini's soft cooing, but it didn't sound right. The more he tried to copy her, the worse he felt. His songs lost their usual cheerfulness. Seeing Mithu quiet and upset, Amma asked, "What's wrong, my dear Mithu?" "Nothing," Mithu replied, turning away. At night, while everyone was asleep, Mithu looked at Chini and whispered, "Why does everyone like her more than me? What does she have that I don't?" The next day, when Amma opened the cages for the birds to enjoy the garden, Mithu came up with an idea. "If I leave the door of Chini's cage open, maybe she'll fly away and never come back," he thought. "Then Amma will love only me again." So, when no one was watching, he nudged Chini's cage door open. Chini noticed and stepped out. But instead of flying away, she stayed on the porch, enjoying the sunshine. Just then, a big cat crept silently onto the fence, its eyes fixed on Chini. Mithu saw the cat and panicked. He flapped his wings and screamed, "Chini, fly! There's a cat!" Chini quickly flew up into the tree, safe and sound. Amma came running, shooed the cat away, and looked at the birds. Mithu lowered his head in shame. "I'm sorry, Chini," Mithu said. "I opened your cage so you'd leave. I was jealous." Chini smiled gently and replied, "That's okay, Mithu, but you don't need to be like me. You are special just the way you are." Amma picked Mithu up and said, "My dear Mithu, you are my cheerful singer. I love both of you for who you are. Never compare yourself to others. Everyone has something beautiful inside." From that day on, Mithu learned to love his own voice, his feathers, and his cheerful nature. He and Chini became the best of friends, and they sang together every morning, each in their own way. Moral of the story: jealousy makes us forget our own worth. Me. In the heart of a green and lively forest lived a small rabbit named Rizu. Rizu was not strong like the lion, nor clever like the fox, nor fast like the deer. In fact, many animals thought he was too small and quiet to be noticed. But Rizu had one special quality: he was brave. Every day, Rizu would hop around the forest, gathering food and helping other animals in small ways. He didn't boast, he didn't seek attention. He simply did what he thought was right. One summer afternoon, while Rizu was collecting berries near the river, he heard a strange crackling noise and smelled something sharp in the air. He looked up and saw smoke rising from behind the trees. His heart raced. There was a fire. Rizu knew that the forest animals were in danger. The fire was still far, but it was coming fast. Without wasting a second, he ran back toward the forest, shouting, "Fire! Fire! Everyone, wake up! There's a fire coming!" At first, no one listened. The birds laughed. Little Rizu must be dreaming again. The monkeys teased, "Go back to your berries, small one." But Rizu didn't stop. He ran to the lion's den and cried, "Lion, sir, there's fire near the river. We must leave." The lion frowned, but when he sniffed the air, he could smell the smoke too. "Rizu is right," he roared. "Everyone must evacuate." Now the forest came alive with movement. Birds flew into the sky, deer and boars ran, and monkeys swung through the trees. Rizu helped guide the smaller animal squirrels, hedgehogs, and even a baby turtle toward the riverbank where it was safe. But then Rizu heard a soft cry. It was coming from a bush behind him. He rushed over and found a tiny fawn, too scared to move. "Come with me," Rizu said gently. "I'm afraid," whimpered the fawn. "I'll stay with you," said Rizu. Even though smoke was now thick in the air, he pushed through the grass, guiding the fawn step by step. Finally, they made it to the riverbank, where the other animals were waiting. When the fire passed, and the forest slowly cooled, all the animals gathered together. The lion stood up and said, Today, this little rabbit saved us all. He was not the biggest, nor the strongest, but he was the bravest. The animals cheered for Rizu. From that day on, they no longer saw him as just a small, quiet rabbit. They saw him as a hero. And Rizu, he didn't ask for praise. He simply smiled and said, "We all must do what we can to help, no matter how small we are." Moral of the story: you don't have to be big or strong to be brave. True courage comes from the heart. In a lush green forest full of tall trees and blooming flowers lived many animals and birds. Among them was a beautiful peacock named Rango. His feathers shimmered with bright blues and greens, and he loved to show them off. Every morning he would dance in the clearing, spinning and twirling, hoping everyone would admire him. The forest animals often stopped to watch, but not everyone was impressed. A little sparrow named Tara would quietly sit on a nearby branch, smiling politely. She had soft brown feathers and a gentle chirp, nothing grand like Rango's display. But she was kind, wise, and always helped others. One day, after finishing his morning dance, Rango walked past Tara and laughed. "Why do you always sit there quietly? You're so plain and dull. No one wants to look at you," Tara replied softly. "Beauty is not everything, Rango. Being kind and helpful matters more." Rango rolled his eyes, spoken like someone who has nothing to show off. Tara didn't argue. She just smiled and flew off to help an injured butterfly. Days passed, and soon the sky darkened. Thick clouds gathered, and the wind howled through the trees. A big storm was coming. The animals hurried to find shelter. Tara quickly flew around, warning others, "Find a safe place, the storm will be strong." She helped the squirrel gather food and led the baby birds to a hollow tree. As the rain poured and thunder roared, everyone huddled together. But Rango? He was too busy admiring his reflection in the lake to notice the changing weather. When the storm hit, strong winds blew, and heavy rain poured. Rango's feathers became soaked, and his tail dragged in the mud. He tried to fly, but the wind was too strong. Cold, wet, and frightened, he stumbled through the forest, looking for shelter. But every tree was full. Just when he was about to give up, he heard a small voice. "Rango, over here." It was Tara. She had left the warm hollow to look for him. "Come with me," she chirped. "I found a safe place." Together, they squeezed into a small dry spot under a thick bush. Rango was silent. He looked at his muddy feathers, and then at Tara's kind eyes. I'm sorry," he said. "I was wrong to make fun of you." Tara smiled. "It's okay. I'm just glad you're safe." When the storm passed, the forest woke up to sunshine. The animals came out, thankful for a new day. Rango, though no less beautiful, had changed. He still danced, but now he danced beside Tara, treating her like the special friend she truly was. Moral of the story: true beauty comes from kindness and the heart, not from how you look. Once upon a time, in a peaceful forest, there lived a clever but greedy fox named Farro. Farro was known for always wanting more food, more space, more of everything. He never shared, and always tried to trick others to get what he wanted. One fine morning, Farro woke up to the scent of fresh, ripe grapes coming from a nearby vineyard. His mouth watered. These will be all mine," he whispered with excitement. The vineyard was protected by a wooden fence, but Farro found a small hole under it. He squeezed through and stared in amazement and rows of juicy grapes hanging from the vines. He rushed forward and started gobbling them up. "So sweet, so juicy," he said, munching grape after grape. As he ate, Farro thought, "If I keep these grapes for myself, no one else in the forest will get them. I'll be the only one to enjoy them forever." So the next day, when a group of birds and a deer came to the vineyard, Farro blocked the hole and growled, "Go away. These grapes are mine, but there are plenty for all," said the deer kindly. "No, mine," snapped Farro, puffing up his chest. He guarded the grapes day and night, chasing away anyone who came close. But he forgot one important thing: grapes don't stay fresh forever. Days passed. The sun got hotter, and the grapes started to shrink. Some turned brown, others fell to the ground and rotted. Farro noticed, but his greed blinded him. "I'll eat them all before they go bad," he said. But no matter how much he ate, he couldn't finish the whole vineyard alone. One morning, Farro woke up with a terrible stomachache. He had eaten too many grapes and could barely move. To make it worse, the vineyard was now full of rotting fruit. Flies buzzed everywhere, and the sweet smell was gone. I should have shared, Farro groaned. Now no one gets to enjoy the grapes, not even me. Just then, the same deer passed by. Farro looked up with sad eyes. I'm sorry. I was selfish. I should have let you all enjoy them too. The deer smiled kindly. It's never too late to change, Farro. From that day on, Farro decided to be different. He helped the animals find new fruit trees, and when food was found, he always shared. Slowly, the forest animals began to trust him again. Farro learned that having more doesn't make you happier, but sharing does. Moral of the story: greed leads to loss. Sharing brings happiness and friendship. Once upon a time, in a beautiful forest, surrounded by tall trees and flowing rivers, there lived a big brown bear named Bonto. Bonto was kind, but incredibly lazy. While all the other animals worked hard to collect food for the winter, Bonto spent his days lying under a tree, napping or humming songs. Nearby lived his friend Chicky, the squirrel. Chicky was always busy gathering nuts, storing seeds, and preparing her warm nest for the cold season ahead. Bonto, Chicky would say, you should start preparing for winter. Once the snow falls, there will be no food. But Bonto would yawn and say, relax, Chicky. Winter is still far away. I have plenty of time. The beavers built strong dams, the birds migrated, and the rabbits lined their burrows with soft leaves. All the forest animals were preparing, but Bonto just snored louder. One day, a cool breeze passed through the forest. The green leaves turned golden, and some began to fall. Now, will you gather food? Asked Chicky. Bonto stretched and replied, just a few more days. I'll do it soon. But Bonto kept delaying. Finally, the first snowflake fell. Then came more, and soon the forest was covered in a white blanket of snow. Food became hard to find, and the cold was bitter. Bonto had no food stored, no shelter ready, and no energy left. He shivered as he walked through the snowy woods, his stomach growling with hunger. He knocked on Chicky's tree. Chicky, he said softly, I'm cold and hungry. Can you help me? Chicky looked at her warm nest and the pile of nuts she had gathered. Her heart was kind, and she couldn't say no to a friend. Come in, she said. I'll share what I have. Bonto came in, and the warmth made him sigh with relief. He ate some nuts and sat quietly. After a while, he looked at Chicky and said, I'm sorry, Chicky. I didn't listen to you. I was lazy, and now I've caused you trouble. Chicky smiled and said, I'm happy to help, but next time, you must help yourself too. Bonto nodded, truly understanding his mistake. The winter passed, and when spring came, Bonto was the first to wake up and start working. He helped others build shelters, gathered food, and even warned younger animals not to make the same mistake he did. From that day on, Bonto was no longer called the lazy bear. He was known as the wise bear who learned his lesson. Moral of the story: laziness today leads to hardship tomorrow. Always prepare and work hard before it's too late. In a quiet corner of the forest, beneath a large tree, there lived a small ant named Anie. She was tiny but known among her ant colony for her honesty and helpful nature. Every day, Anie and her fellow ants would march out in a long line to collect food for the colony. One sunny morning, while looking for crumbs near a picnic spot, Anie saw something shiny hidden beneath a leaf. Curious, she pulled the leaf aside and gasped it was a small gold coin. It sparkled in the sunlight and was bigger than her whole body. Oh wow, Anie said to herself. This must belong to someone. Just then, her friend Tiki, the termite, scuttled by. What's that, Anie? He asked. I think it's a gold coin, she said. Someone must have lost it. Keep it, Tiki said quickly. No one will know. You found it, so it's yours now. Anie shook her head. That doesn't feel right. What if someone is really sad because they lost it? Ignoring Tiki's advice, Anie dragged the heavy coin back to the forest trail. Along the way, she met Ruby the rabbit, who was hopping around in distress. Oh dear, I've lost my lucky coin, Ruby cried. It was a gift from my grandmother. Anie's eyes lit up. Was it small and golden? Yes, have you seen it? Asked Ruby, her ears perking up with hope. Anie smiled. I found it near the picnic spot. It must be yours. Ruby jumped with joy as Anie handed over the coin. Thank you, Anie. You're the most honest ant I've ever met. Later that day, Ruby told all the animals in the forest about Anie's honesty. The news spread fast. By evening, Anie had become a little hero among the woodland creatures. The next morning, Ruby visited Anie's colony with a basket full of sweet berries and seeds. "This is a thank you gift for Anie and her hardworking friends," she said. Anie blushed with pride, but she also felt warm inside not because of the gift, but because she did the right thing. From that day on, whenever forest animals found something that didn't belong to them, they remembered Anie the ant and followed her example. Even Tiki, who once told Anie to keep the coin, learned a lesson. "You were right, Anie," he said later. "Being honest is more rewarding than keeping what isn't yours." Anie smiled and replied, "Doing the right thing always brings peace." Moral of the story: honesty is always the best policy. Doing the right thing makes the heart happy.